So a year ago, I was walking through the dazzling streets of New York City with my father one night. And I was really trying to take in my surroundings and the silence that we were walking in, and I was really amazed by the sprinkle of rainbow gay pride flags that I saw around the streets. They were preparing for a gay pride march that was coming up. But in my excitement, my attention was drawn away from the flags as this old Santa Claus-like man with rags, presumably homeless, was pushing a shopping cart with all his things towards us, but not paying any mind to us. And without even seeing us, he stopped. He turned and looked right at me. He looks me up and down. He says, "I'm a lesbian too." And then he just disappeared into the night. And of course, my first instinct was to laugh. I mean, it was rather comical. But then, I did laugh. I told the story to my best friend, my sister, and I laughed every time. But then when I told it to some more conservative friends, all I got was a look of distaste. And then the glam and glow of this New York City trip kind of faded away as I was brought back to reality that even though I might not be a lesbian like the man thought I was, I'm not straight. And I'm not accepted by most members of my community, and thus I'm not out of the closet. Although, look, the cat's out of the bag now, isn't it? So sexual orientation is just one thing about us. And logically speaking, it seems like such a trivial thing, right? I would think, why don't I just come out? I could just break the news, rip it off like a Band-Aid. But the truth is that a year ago, I would have found it easier to tell people around me that I'm pregnant, or I'm dropping out of school, or I killed someone. And it really shows how the people around us are not necessarily very tolerant and not very open to people of different backgrounds or different traits. So they may not necessarily be open to gay people, or maybe they are open to gay people, but maybe not open to their own friends or their own kin being one of them. And being one of them is hard. I won't act like I have it as hard as some other people in my community. For example, one of my closest friends is a bisexual man who used to go to this school. And while he attended this school, he was the only openly LGBT person on campus. And this caused people to insult him behind his back, gossip, things like that. But the thing is that, you know, when you're in school, people kind of refrain from doing as much as they would outside of campus, where everything's fair game. He was walking down the street one day when this car full of boys from our school kind of stopped by and threw not only insults and slurs at him, like maricón, but also food and drinks. And it was humiliating and dehumanizing for him, obviously. On the other hand, I have another friend who recently came out of the closet to me, saying that she had nobody else to turn to. She knew that I was very open. She didn't know that I wasn't straight, but she knew that I'm a very open person, that I could probably be helpful to her and help her accept herself. And just after a very short conversation with her, she felt quite ready to come out to her friends, to her parents, and they all embraced her with a lot of love and support. And it was really beautiful to see so much love, in contrast to what my other friend received. And seeing this stark contrast really hit me like a ton of bricks. A few weeks ago, actually, I was on the school bus, and I was with one of my friends, and her little brother was there, about 10 years old. And there were these other boys that were a little bit older than him that loved to tease people on the bus. And it seems like vehicles tend to make people very aggressive. So they were just making fun of him, and then they started throwing rapid-fire questions at him, like, are you homo, are you bi, are you transgender? And he had no idea what any of these words meant, and they knew that. So he was very confused. And people around, around me were turning towards this. They heard what was happening, and they looked like they disapproved of it, but they didn't do anything about it. And eventually, the boys asked, are you heterosexual? He didn't know that either, so he said, no. And of course, that made them laugh even harder than before. And hearing this and seeing that nobody else was doing anything, I just told them, that's not funny, and they stopped. And I was sad that nobody else wanted to do anything, because, well, I'm usually the one to do this kind of thing. This happens a lot, and I'm always the one to stop it. And it seems that everybody else wants to do something, but they don't. And I ask them why, and they make up these excuses like, it's none of my business, or boys will be boys, or I don't want people to think I'm gay. And you see how we make all these excuses and we make ourselves bystanders. We make ourselves bystanders, we see all this hatred and we don't do anything about it. A few days ago, I was on an Uber, actually. The Uber driver tried to make a lot of conversation, as some of them tend to do. And he asked me about what I wanted to do with my future. And I said I wanted to make an impact on human rights. He said, why? I said, because I have a lot of interest in things like feminism and empowering the LGBT community. He said, ah, yes, the gays. He said, you know, my auntie, she knows a lot of those gays. She works at a hair salon. I said, oh, that's interesting. He said, yes, she says they're very emotionally unstable. I said, well, I'm not a prime example to refute that statement, but of course that took me back. And he said that LGBT rights may not be the most pressing issue in the world. I said, he has a point. There are people who arguably are suffering more, but who are we to judge whose problem is more important than another, right? Mm-hmm. And so, as for me, I've been rather lucky. I've told my friends, and they've been rather open about the idea of me being bisexual, to an extent. A lot of them at the beginning would say, oh yeah, that makes sense. You know, it must be that you're half man, half woman in the brain, that makes sense. Then I started to come out with more people, and boys would think this was a good excuse to ask me for a threesome, which also makes sense. And then a lot of people would think that this was just me being too scared to come out as a lesbian, that it was just like the easy way out, because somehow bisexuals have it easier. So they said, you know, you're a lesbian, and a lot of boys stopped talking to me because obvious reasons. And the thing is, a lot of people in my own LGBT community stopped talking to me, or said that I was too afraid to come out as a lesbian. And it made me think, is my identity not accepted by anyone? Am I somehow too gay for straight people and too straight for gay people? It makes you think that somehow, if you don't fit into a certain box for people, then you'll be shunned or shut out completely. And so, growing up, I wasn't exactly open to the idea of myself being bi. I didn't accept it fully at first. You know, I was like any other little girl that watched Disney movies and saw the Disney princesses and thought, oh, I can't wait for the day my prince will come. And I never really thought about the idea of a prince being a princess. And I never thought about the era that we live in today, where there's princesses who are independent, like Moana, or princesses that are even rumored to possibly be made canonically gay, like Queen Elsa. I never ever imagined that something like this would happen, and so the idea of finding my prince was the only thing I had in my head. And so, a few months ago, there was a girl, for the first time in my life, that expressed romantic feelings towards me, and I expressed the same ones towards her. And I really wanted to see her. But there was always this little voice inside my head telling me that this was wrong. The internalized homophobia telling me, like, this isn't right, like, she's not a prince. Your happiness will not come like this. And it was saying, like, you're faking it, probably for attention, right? You're just bored with your life. And, you know, we're told from such a young age to paint the picture of what we want our lives to look like. And there are implicit rules. That's the problem. We can't draw certain things or use certain colors because of the societal standards. And so there are things that we rule out as possibilities because they're even beyond our own imaginations, and we're not exposed to these. Like, I was always exposed to the Disney prince. Had to be a prince, never a princess. And this really holds us back from anything. Like, the girl, she didn't necessarily have to be my girlfriend. I lost out on the opportunity of having a friend because I was too afraid to ask to see her, just because I was thinking, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. And so I think that we really need to learn to break societal standards and not be afraid to deviate from them. We have to teach our kids to be whatever we want to be without the implicit rules. We have to stand up for each other so that we can do whatever we really want to do. And be a voice for the voiceless. Stand up for the little kid being made fun of on the bus, or talk back to the Uber driver, or tell the guys you don't want a threesome. So really, be a voice for the voiceless, because the only way that we'll progress in society is when we're all heard and when we all can do what we want to do without hurting others. Today's society may be better than yesterday's, but we still have a long way to go. Thank you.